Ready for all the craziness of small business? It's exactly that craziness that makes it exciting and totally unbelievable. Small Business Radio is now on the air with your host, Barry Moltz.
Well, thanks for joining this week's radio show. Remember, this is your final word in small business. For those keeping track, this is now show number, incredibly, 571. This episode is provided by Nextiva, the all-in-one communications platform for your small business. It's also sponsored by LinkedIn, the place to generate leads, drive traffic, and build your brand awareness. For a free $100 credit to launch your campaign, go to www.linkedin.com/SBR. It's also supported by eFile4Biz, the easiest way to electronically process, print, mail, and file your 1099s and W-2s for your business. Go to www.efile4biz.com. It's also sponsored by vCita, all you need to run your business in one software. Try for free at www.vcita.com. That's VCITA.com, and use Barry10 for an exclusive discount. We're also sponsored by Blue Summit Supplies. Get your W-2s and 1099 tax forms that your business is required to file. Go to www.bluesummitSupplies.com/SBR and use code SBR10 at checkout to save 10% on your order. Well, one of the things that we're all working on now is how to become better leaders. Unless we can lead a team, we can never, ever get the leverage to build a big, profitable company. My next guest has done just that, building a company that has over 4,000 franchise locations in 50 countries. Chuck Runyon is the co-founder of Anytime Fitness, an alternative to big box gyms, which typically feature expensive frills that few members actually use or need. In contrast, Chuck and his partner designed smaller neighborhood clubs featuring the things members wanted: convenience, affordability, quality equipment, and surprisingly personal service in a friendly, non-intimidating facilities. Chuck, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Barry. Congratulations on show 571. That was very cool.
Well, congratulations on 4,000 franchises. Where did the idea come for Anytime Fitness?
Well, first let me say it's actually closer to 5,000.
Wow. See, you can't always believe what you see on the web. I'm surprised.
That's right. We just got back from Antarctica.
Wow, I saw that.
The first franchise brand in history to operate on all 7 continents.
Wow, congratulations.
So, I'm quite proud and quite excited about that. Thank you very much. And we started in Minnesota in May of 2002, so over 17 years ago now.
Wow. And so where did the idea come for, Chuck?
Well, my partner and I were in the fitness space. We owned some of the bigger box stores, those with racquetball, whirlpool, saunas, and they had 40, 50,000 square feet with daycares. But we realized that most of our members just came in every day and used the cardiovascular and the strength equipment. And so we wanted to create a more efficient gym that was far more convenient, closer to home, closer to work, and open 24 hours so our members would come in wherever they want. And so we came up with the idea for Anytime Fitness, which is more of a boutique-sized gym. Instead of having 50,000 square feet, right? They were before to 5,000 square feet, and they would be located in a typical strip mall where you'd find a coffee shop and a sandwich shop and a dry cleaner. And so it was very close to home and work. We enabled technology to give members 24/7 access, and then we began franchising using other people's passion and capital to grow this around the country back in 2002. And obviously, it's been a wonderful success, and the industry continues to grow too. And so, at the end of the day, it's just about unlocking, that convenience for our members.
It's interesting to me because we talked earlier this month with Rohit Bhagava, and he talks about the trends that are coming down the line. And one of these talks about is revival. There are people who are going back to things that were simpler. And it seems that Anytime Fitness is really a simpler time when it was a smaller gym. And just like in your home, you go work there anytime you want.
Yeah, well, you're going to find all the big, the equipment you find in a big club, but in a smaller setting. Therefore, it's more convenient, it's more comfortable, right? It's less intimidating, and because of our passionate local franchisees, right? They're going to take the time to care for you, help you through the program, help you see progress, make it a more enjoyable experience. And so it's really a smaller gym with big equipment and big heart because we care for our members, unlike any other fitness brand out there.
What's the niche do you think that you fill with Anytime Fitness compared to someone going to a larger club or perhaps someone getting equipment in their home?
Yeah, well, I think it's the care, the coach, and connection that you get with our clubs. And so everyone needs a little bit of a coach, someone to nudge them towards proper behavior, someone to congratulate them on their achievements. And so you get that coaching aspect, someone to help educate and motivate. You get someone who cares about you, because behavior change is hard. You and I both know, it's difficult to make a consistent, disciplined effort with your exercise or nutrition. And so therefore you just need someone in your corner who's going to provide some education, some coaching, some caring. And then with some of our group workouts, there's a community that fosters in the gym. And so that caring, coaching, and connecting is so critical, right, to help our members achieve the healthiest version of themselves. That's why our tagline is, let's make healthy happen, because with a coach and a member, right, they can get that person to the healthiest version of themselves. So everyone needs a little bit of help.
Chuck, one of the things that you always focus on is to help entrepreneurs really become better, self-aware leaders. And I try to emphasize this a lot, because if you're not leader, if you can't lead people, you're never going to find any leverage in your business if you're always doing it yourself.
Barry, you are so correct. And keep in mind now, over the last 17 years, I've had a courtside seat to small business leadership. I have seen franchisees go from one club to now over 100 clubs. And then I've seen other franchisees who aspired to have more, but they just can't grow and leverage their business. And you are 100% correct. It really comes down to how good you are at attracting and engaging and leading your team. And what good leaders understand is, that leader builds the team, and the team builds the business, right? You've got to be able to surround yourself with really talented people, empower them with the autonomy, the vision, and the resources to grow, and you have to trust them. And so, yes, our better owners who can scale their business, they understand they're not in the fitness business, they are in the people business, and so that is so critical.
Let's go through some of your 5 lessons. One is that mindset matters. Get in tune with your emotions. Some leaders would say is you got to check your emotions at the door when you run a small business, because it can't be personal.
Oh, I disagree. Look, we feel so much emotion in the workplace. We're laughing. We're showing love. It's okay for us to be vulnerable and say that we're stressed or we don't know the answer. So I think, we put so much energy and time into the workplace. I think it has to be emotion, because, we want to engage our team's hearts every bit as we engage their minds. So for us, it's okay to cry at work, because the work means that much to us, and we're changing people's lives. And so, mindset matters. We're in the business where if you work out, your biceps are going to get bigger. They're going to get stronger. And mindset is a muscle, just like your biceps. And so you've got to challenge it, right? You've got to add a little bit more weight, and you've got to continually practice at it, and you have a stronger mindset, the one that's more resilient, more optimistic, and you've got to constantly work at your, as an entrepreneur, you can't have a weak mindset. You've got to have a growth mindset, and you've got to stay resilient, positive, and hungry to learn more.
It's so funny, because I had a trainer years ago where she said, listen, we're going to get your body right, but you also have to get your mindset right. And I didn't understand that for a lot of years to come.
Well, we always say that the body will achieve what the mind believes. And as an entrepreneur, it's the same thing. The business will achieve what your mind believes, what the leader believes. And so at the end of the day, right, as a leader, you can't really afford too many off days, right? You always have to be on for your team. You've got to provide them the energy and the inspiration and the direction to be their very best that day. And so you need to know what makes you tick at a high level. Like for me, I need to get in my morning exercise. I also, because I'm a bit of an ambivert, I need a little bit of quiet time in the morning to make sure I am charged up for the day, right? I need regular feedback. And then I also need some type of creative outlet that day to operate at my very best, whether it's whiteboarding, whether it's writing. And so because I know myself and I know what makes me tick at a higher level, I can make sure to put those into my day so I can be the best leader possible for my team.
Chuck, you talk about seeking trusted feedback. I think that everybody needs feedback. There's a couple issues associated with that. One is, who can you get trusted feedback from and they're just not mouthing what you think they want to hear? And how do you know if you should really take it in, or it's just someone that really has an ulterior motive?
Oh, that is a great question. And again, another thing I've seen in small businesses, right? A small business doesn't have a board of directors. They have no one that kind of holds them accountable that they need to report to. So I'm always suggesting to our small owners, right, even if you have 1 club or 10 clubs, right, build a small board, right, from within your community, from other leaders in the business that you respect. Maybe it's someone like a banker that you've done business with, or a mentor in another field. And And again, ask them to get together regularly, and again, they're going to help you. They're going to kind of be your board. They're not going to just give you feedback in the business, but also give you feedback on yourself. There are plenty of organizations like YPO, or I'm sure every community now has some business organizations where you get together in a roundtable setting with peers like yourself. Those, they might be CEOs, they might be people in marketing, they might be those who own businesses like yourself. And the goal of those type of groups are to give each other feedback, to hold each other accountable, and then just make sure you are creating a circle, a network of people who are willing to have the courage and honesty to give you feedback on what you're doing well. That's important, as well as areas to improve.
And they don't really have any ulterior motive by not telling you the truth, right?
They don't. There's no, obviously you're getting feedback from the business metrics, you're getting feedback from your team, but you need some objective outside resources, those who are not, monetarily tied to your business. And there are so many business, successful leaders in your community who are just, waiting to be tapped into, who want to mentor, who want to help you succeed. And so you can't sit there and wait for people to give you feedback. You got to go out and seek it. You've got to tap into some people who've been there, done that, and are willing to help you. And there's more than you think.
Another principle you have about being a better leader is practice self-disclosure. And I think those three words are very powerful, because one is, I think to really be an authentic leader, you've got to show vulnerability, but I think you also have to practice it because you don't have to tell them everything.
Yeah, look, I think there is great power in vulnerability, right? There's really no learning until you're ready to be vulnerable, to admit that maybe you're not good at something, or you failed at something, or it's just not your best work and you need help. And once you're willing to admit it, once you're willing to seek help, that is where personal growth starts. So this is, for Dave and my partner and I, right, we are not college graduates. We started this idea 17 years ago, but the company is vastly different today, right? With nearly 5,000 units globally. And the times are different, right? Think about how much we've changed here in this digital transformation we've gone over the last decade. So this company requires a different set of leadership skills and capabilities than what we had 17 years ago. So for us, it's been a nonstop evolution of trying to grow and trying to build some self-awareness and trying to build new leadership and communication capabilities. And so we're always trying to learn. And so that's really the quest for all of us. It's, how much potential do we have? How much can we tap into that? How can we learn more about ourselves? And so we are always trying to surround ourselves with smart people. We're asking questions. We're seeking feedback. We're willing to be vulnerable and just say, look, we're not very good in these areas. How can we get better? And so, it's really been 17 years of vulnerability. But now that we know this, right, how do we now get better? And so for us, we're an everyday student trying to learn.
But Chuck, how do you figure out how vulnerable you should really be to your staff? Because again, I think it's important to be authentic, but at what point does it become TMI, too much information, that they don't need to know something like that? In other words, you can't always come in every day and just spill your guts.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think it's just, like you said, look, as a leader, you still want to instill confidence, instill competence, like what you're doing. But it's just okay to pepper in some, hey, here's some areas of the business we're not doing well, here's some areas where I'm trying to improve. But I don't know necessarily what the ratio is. Maybe it's an 80-20. You still want to do 80% competence and maybe 20% of areas to improve or vulnerability. And you don't want to do it too often, right? But at the right place and right time, this is a little bit of those situational awareness skills where you're going to instinctively build over time. Your team needs to know that you're human. Your team needs to know that you care. And so if you show some emotion, when I cry because one of these member success stories changes their life, or when I get a little bit stressed about something, I'm just being human. I'm just showing that I really care about the business and about the people. And I don't know if I've got the exact formula, but just use your situational awareness, use your instincts to know that, hey, my team could use this right now, versus, hey, now they need a jolt of confidence.
Because in the end, your team is going to mimic whatever you do. So if you show vulnerability, your team's going to show vulnerability, and that's a good thing.
100%. We want real, authentic people working. And you mentioned that word authenticity. We want people to bring their full self to work. We want them to, show up, right? Share their point of view, be real, no bureaucracy, no bullshit. None of this office politics. We're all humans. We've all got great intent, and so we really want people to feel comfortable and safe so they can bring their full self to work. So we love that word authenticity, and so therefore a leader needs to be authentic to lead by example and instill the culture.
I love your fourth principle because you say know your team and build them up, and you quote that 79% of employees quit due to the lack of appreciation from their leaders, and I really think that's true. I don't think folks quit their company. I think they quit their boss.
That is so true. Now, I think stats. Gallup has been testing employee engagement now for 15, 20 years, and 70% of people drive to work each day either feeling emotionally neutral or just unhappy with going to work. And I just think that stat is so sad and miserable to think that 7 out of 10 people devote half their waking hours to something they don't like to do. And so we employee engagement for us here is very critical, right? We want you to show up at work engaged, ready and emotionally involved in the work. And so we want to make sure we're providing constant feedback. And more often than not, we're looking for things you did right, not things you did wrong, because we want to instill and reinforce the good habits and good behaviors of our culture. So we're always looking for leaders who are coaches, not cops, right? I mean, if you're a police officer, you look for things that are going wrong, but if you're a coach, you look for things that people are doing right. And for us, it's at least a 3-to-1. I mean, we're trying to say, look, great job, and reinforce that behavior throughout the culture. So just remember, as a leader, right, look for what they're doing right more than look for what they're doing wrong.
And again, your last one is you have to measure your growth. Is that somewhere along the line, to be a great leader, you have to be reflective. And I think that too many times, Chuck, we're moving so fast as leaders, we don't take the time to be reflective. Why is it so important?
I think it's critical. I write. I'm a writer, so for me, writing things down is very cathartic, and it makes me really think about the business in a more strategic way. And oftentimes, I send out all staff letters, I send out board letters. Writing really causes me to reflect, and you've got to take the time to the pace of business is so dizzying these days, and so it's get off that merry-go-round, stop for a second, elevate your thoughts, and zoom out and think about, all right, what's happened here in the past, what is the present state of the business, and then really zoom out over the next 2 years, 4 years, 6 years on where this business is going. Your team needs to know what you're thinking. As a leader, they need to think about your vision. And in today's society, where we're just inundated with information, a leader cannot communicate often enough. So when I take the time to reflect, I want to share those feelings, and you've got to repeat yourself numerous times, whether it's through email, whether it's through all staff meetings, whether it's through some videos. I mean, especially when a business is growing, you've just got to continue to communicate and beat the drum of what's our vision, who are we impacting, why are we doing this, how are we doing this, why is that important, how do we behave, and if we're successful, how do we impact, right, people or the planet? And your team can't hear that often enough. So
the last question is, given you now have 5,000 franchises on every single continent, what's the message that you're going out with your team this year?
For us, it's funny you mentioned we are still grounded in our values. And so, despite our growth, right, we have 4 core values around here, which is around people, purpose, profits, and play. And so every day, right, we want to make sure that this formula informs our strategy, right, is impacted into our behavior. And really, for us, it's about outcome. It's about investing in people, having a purpose bigger than ourselves, making sure we're helping franchisees, right, create profitability, and then having fun, right, taking the work seriously without taking ourselves seriously. So no matter how big we get, we are still grounded in our values. We are not going to allow business growth to change who we are. And that is the integrity, that is the soul of our company. And we've got to continue. That is the foundation, right? We've got to continue to nurture that. And that cannot change. So we hire for that, we reward for that, and we talk about it. Those values are critical, and they should be felt in every corner of our organization.
Well, Chuck, I appreciate you being on the show. If you want more of Chuck's advice, you can get his book called Love Work, and you can go to www.anytimefitness.com. Chuck, next one is going to be on the moon or Mars, or what's the next thing to accomplish?
We are working on it, my friend. We are going to be the first to be on the space station, the first to be on another planet, or who knows, maybe we'll go underwater, maybe we'll go somewhere deep in the ocean. So it's a work in progress. We're not done.
I look forward to that. This is AM 820 WCPT in Chicago. We'll be right back. Time and place is everything, especially when it comes to marketing. But in today's age of 1 million messages per minute and not enough hours in a day, how do you really catch people's attention? Fortunately, there's a simple way. LinkedIn can help you speak to the right professionals at the right time. With over 62 million decision makers on LinkedIn, you're able to connect with the right business leaders who are relevant to your company. And with LinkedIn ads, you can make sure your messages are getting through to these relevant people. Even small businesses are making the most of LinkedIn ads. They're using LinkedIn to get their voices heard and their messages to resonate with the audience. It's not just about awareness either. LinkedIn ads are driving traffic and engagement, whether that's visits to a landing page, registrations to an event, or downloads of that thought leadership piece. Because with precise targeting, small businesses can speak to the people that matter the most. At the end of the day, LinkedIn ads are helping smaller businesses get big results. Try it for yourself. LinkedIn is offering a free $100 LinkedIn ad credit to launch your first campaign. Simply go to www.linkedin.com/SBR. That's www.linkedin.com/SBR to claim your free $100 ad credit. Terms and conditions apply.
You've already upgraded your cell phone to a smart device, which lets you use the internet to be more productive on the go. But what about your desk phone? Nextiva is a smart business phone system in the cloud. With a simple setup through an internet connection, you can soon have access to your office communications wherever you are. Stay seamlessly connected with clients and stay more mobile than ever before with just one low monthly cost. Give your business more than just a basic desk phone. Visit Nextiva.com or call 800-799-0600 to learn more today. Nextiva. Simplifying your business communications.
Stick around to get your small business unstuck. More of Small Business Radio with Barry Moltz, now on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hosting was one of the first internet services I ever purchased for my small business. But now it seems like while appearing as a commodity, who you choose to host your site is as important as ever as we move everything to the cloud. Here to help is Jay Christensen, who's the Vice President of Business Development and Sales at Hostway. Jay, welcome to the conference here at B2SMB Global in Chicago.
Great, thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, I feel like Hostway, as you were saying, has been around for 400 years in internet time. They were really the first ones there.
Definitely one of the first ones in the market. We started in 1996. It's been quite a journey. I've been in the industry since early 2000, so not quite as long as Hostway has been around, but with different partners within the industry. But Hostway has really grown over the years into basically two different companies. One is the traditional shared web hosting, so the small business web hosting format where small businesses will come, they'll register a domain, they'll create a website, and that has obviously gone through a lot of changes that we can talk about. And then the other side is really the infrastructure hosting, the large enterprise hosting infrastructure that large companies need, whether it be database or what have you. But Hostway has really grown into two different sections of the industry.
So tell us about the origin story. How did it get started so early on?
So Hostway was started by a couple of gentlemen from Korea who were over in the States for school, and they decided, this whole internet thing might not be a fad and it might actually catch on, and decided to really capitalize on the opportunity there. And they created Hostway, which was targeted at small business website hosting. So the ability for small businesses to get on the net and be able to have their business online and create that online presence.
And what trajectory did it take? Because certainly they went through the internet bubble, the heyday in 1999, then down 2001. What was it like when you joined it as the company grew?
Right. So as it began, their focus was on the small business, and then they also had other opportunities come where large international corporations came to them and said, hey, we need help, especially establishing ourselves in the U.S. market. And so it grew in two areas, which one is the enterprise side, complex infrastructure hosting, and then on the SMB side, it really started to take off in about 2010, after the bubble burst and everything kind of settled down, and people kind of divested themselves of the large data centers and really started focusing on those two different sections. And on the SMB side, really started focusing on providing a secure, stable hosting environment, as opposed to a lot of the free or low-priced providers out there, really being able to provide a stable, secure hosting environment for small business that wanted more than just a brochure site.
I've been shocked that how many small business owners still don't have a website. It's something like 35% of the small business owned in the U.S.
I've seen estimates as high as 70%,
wow.
But I think it's 50 to 70%. And it's amazing how many don't have a website or even a domain name. Because when you think about it, really, domain name is the first step of getting an online presence.
All the good ones are taken.
You would think so, but it's amazing what creativity can do. But if you drive around, it's amazing to see a professionally built sign. I've even seen some signs that are wooden signs that have my business at thetelcoprovider.net. Instead of having their own domain name, on their business cards, on their letterhead, they're using, Hotmail or something of that nature. Whereas really, to be a true business, you really need to get your name out there. And the best way to do that is to first nail down that domain name. So that's really kind of the phone number of the internet, and it allows people to find you. And so that's really the starting point. But then you grow from there into email and into the website and into other marketing tools that just add on top of that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really understand the difference between an email address and a website address, right? And I find what holds people back is they don't know where to start. They're afraid. They don't know, well, how do I actually get a domain name, or how do I actually build a website? It's got to be pretty complicated. But companies like Hostway make it really easy now.
Absolutely. There are a lot of different providers out there who do a great job, frankly. But I think that's really the key, is that a lot of small businesses, the plumbers or the contractors, these guys that are just not technical, they've got, 1 to 10 employees. That's really the sweet spot for Hostway, because we're able to provide a product that is so easy for them to use. Everybody knows how to use Word. Everybody knows how to use a PowerPoint or a drag and drop type thing and say, here's a picture and you put it here, and here's some information about your business and you stick it here. And it's really that simple. So a lot of people are intimidated, but they shouldn't be, because it's really that easy to build and manage a website now.
And I've seen a lot of small business owners, they say, I don't need a website because, my customers hear from word of mouth. But what they have to understand is so many of the searches now that are done on the internet are done for local. So if someone's going to put in plumber 60611, you're going to want to show up.
Absolutely. And that's critical, because 80% of searches are done on mobile phones now. And those are all going to be, there's the magic Google quadrant on the right-hand side when you do a local search. And you want to show up in that local search into that magic quadrant. Now, those searches do not take you directly to a website. They take you to the Google results. But what happens when somebody wants to learn more about your business? You have to have a website. So I do hear that a lot of small businesses say, well, I don't really need a website anymore because I show up on Google. Well, once you show up on Google, number one, to be able to be listed on Google and be able to be highly ranked, you have to have a website with the proper content and keywords and metadata to be able to have the algorithm from Google to actually recognize you and for you to be able to show up. Once you have that, obviously you want to be able to tell your customers what you do, how to find you, and how they can do business with you.
It used to be years ago that if you wanted to create a website, it was HTML, and then you had WordPress or Drupal or Joomla. But now a lot of companies like yours have simple website builders, right?
Yes.
So it makes it fairly easy. If you can use Word or PowerPoint, you can build a website.
Absolutely, and that's one of the keys that Hostway has been able to hang our hat on over the years. Is not only do we provide the tools, the simple tools for a customer to build a simple website. I mean, literally within 30 minutes, you can have a 3-page website up and running. I gave one of these tools to my 16-year-old, and obviously within 15, she's smarter than me.
Right, exactly. She probably did it in 5 minutes.
Exactly,
us it takes an hour.
On her phone. But you can do that literally within 15, 30 minutes. You can have a website up and running. marketing. And so it's very simple and easy to do that nowadays.
And you can also make those changes. That was always the gripe about creating a website was you would hire someone, it would cost a lot of money, and then you need to go back to that person to make those changes. And you want your website to be dynamic, you want to update the content, and these kind of website builders allow you to do that.
Absolutely. They have the tools for blog updates and for other information, and that's the key to having a good website is, like you said, keeping it fresh, keeping the content live, and doing blogs and newsletters and so forth, and that's the key. And these tools that we have allow small businesses to be able to do that very easily.
And one thing I like about these tools, it also at least gets you started in the whole search engine optimization area, so at least you show up. You don't have to think about tagging and all the other myriad of things that go into good SEO.
Well, and there's a lot of tools now that'll help automate that as well, right? So you're not going to show up on the first page, but if as long as you're showing up within the first 3 pages with some of these automated SEO tools, you can do that. Another key, like you said before, is the local search. Being able to show up in that local search is critical, and we have tools that enable you to do that. Online reviews are critical for local businesses to be able to show up in those local search results. It's all about the online reviews and the interaction with the customer.
Yeah, you're seeing Google really list a lot of times reviews as first on the search page now because they're so important. Talk to us a little about domain naming, because for a long time, obviously, .com and .net and .org, those are the original ones. And people said, well, if you didn't have a .com domain name, then it really wasn't a valid domain name. But now there's a myriad of things. What's your thoughts on domain naming? Should a small business owner pick a less optimal .com, or should I go for something that is more descriptive but perhaps has a different extension?
You can do both. The extensions, they're called TLDs, they're top-level domains, and they're, like you said, they're just a lot of new ones coming out. Basically, every year they're creating new ones, so you can get .club if you want, or you can get .info, you can get all sorts of different extensions on there. And I think there are 2 pieces there. One is trying to get found and getting a domain name that actually makes sense. Like you said, a lot of the .coms are already taken, but there are others that you can get. The thing to remember with domain names is you can always point a domain name to another domain name. So you want to register your domain name so that you can get found. And the second piece is for reputation management. You want to be able to, if you have mybusiness.com, you definitely want to be able to protect that name and get the .net and the .info and the .us and the .biz. They're $15 a year. That's not going to break anyone's bank. And so from a reputation management standpoint, it's important that you control that online presence name, because that's really where the value is for your business online.
See, for me, I don't think the .com is as important as it once was. For me, I think the most important thing, you got to be able to spell it, and it's got to be memorable, and it's got to be easy. Because so many times it's tough to spell these things, and you don't find the company you're looking for.
It is, absolutely. So it's important. And most people, how many times have you gone in and actually typed in the domain name, right? It's all about search function. And so as long as you have the right domain name and you can be found online, and you have, like you said, those SEO components that are going to allow you to show up on those search results, that's the important thing, because, very rarely do you actually type in the domain name, the URL anymore.
Another thing that small business owners ask is, do I have to do digital marketing? Do I have to do online advertising? And I always say it takes quite a bit of skill to do that effectively. I used to say that the quickest way to lose $500 is not the roulette table in Las Vegas, is to try to do search engine marketing by yourself when you don't know anything.
Absolutely. There is a huge skill involved in search engine marketing, in being able to do effective online advertising. And I would suggest that people find a company that can help with that. Now, Hostway has those services. There are also local small boutique web design companies. They can build your website. They can utilize the tools where they build your website using a tool, and then they can turn that over to you so that you can do your own blog posts and updates and newsletters. But they can also, for, like you said, $500 a month, or depending on how effective they want to be, they can do that for you. And I would highly recommend that, because there definitely is is a science to it. Now, the nice thing about online marketing is small businesses need to consider marketing, really online marketing, as part of their marketing budget, not their IT budget. Quite often when a small business gets a website, they put everything associated with the website into the IT budget, and then that's the first thing that they look at to try to cut and
right, exactly.
Maintain their expense ratio. But if you consider it as a marketing expense, and if you spend $500 and you get a 10 times return on your investment, well, next month you should spend $1,000 because you're going to maintain that return on investment, and that's really the key to online marketing.
Well, Jay, we're here at the B2SMB Global Conference. Why does Hostways participate, and what do you get out of coming to Chicago for this event?
Well, the B2SMB Conference is all about having companies who are targeting SMBs and figuring out a better solution for targeting SMBs. So for us, Hostway definitely has a direct brands that we go to market with. So we have Hostway and we have Gate.com, which is a security-based brand, and we have many different brands that we've acquired over the years. But our main focus is the channel, because we partner with 80% of the largest telcos in the U.S. and take our products in a white label manner to their customers. And so we have access to over 70% of the small businesses in the U.S. through our channel partners. And B2SMB is helping us learn how better to partner with other providers who are going after the SMB market. And that's really the key, because the SMB, if you're not doing scale, you're not going to be successful. And so going through those channel partners allows us to be able to take our products into a much larger scale.
Well, Jay, I appreciate you joining us. Where can people learn more about Hostway and get in touch with you on the web?
Jay, I'm on LinkedIn. Happy to talk there, and hostway.com is our website, and you can learn everything that you need to know there. Just as a side note, we are in the process of actually changing our name. We have about 3 weeks ago, the enterprise side of the business, we have divided those two businesses. So the enterprise side of the business is called Entirety, and we are in the process of rebranding the small business section into NetNation.
NetNation. All right, well, you heard it here first. Jay,
Yep.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Tune in regularly to my show, then you know that I talk to many different businesses across the country, different types of people, different backgrounds, all kinds of industries. But there's one thing that unites all of us: searching that thing known as work-life balance. I get pretty bummed out when a listener tells me that they haven't been home for dinner in a whole month. That's why I'm so excited to introduce you to vCita. vCita does a lot for one little application. It can help you achieve that lifestyle. vCita is that personal assistant on steroids you never had. It syncs your client information, appointments, and payments. vCita sends automated appointments and payment reminders, making sure your clients keep appointments and get paid on time. vCita understands today's consumer, making it easy for them to book an appointment and pay from literally anywhere. A website, Facebook, emails, even your Google My Business profile. It's also compatible with Google, Gmail, iCal, social media, and Square Payments. So get your free 14-day trial during which you can explore every single feature. Go to vCita.com. That's VCITA.com. No credit card required, no strings attached, no brainer. And when you're ready to buy, use promo code Barry10 to get 10% off. Tax season is here, and now it's time to file. Blue Summit Supplies has what you need to make filing your 1099s and W-2s quicker, cheaper, and easier than ever. Reduce the stress of tax season by stocking up on IRS-compliant tax forms for your 1099s, W-2s, plus learn how you can save time and money by filing your 2019 taxes online using their simple, safe, and secure electronic filing service. Enjoy free expedited shipping on every order within the continental U.S. Learn more at www.bluesummitsupplies.com/SBR and use the code SBR10 at checkout to save 10% on your order for any paper tax forms and envelopes.
Stick around to get your small business unstuck. More of Small Business Radio with Barry Moltz, now on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Well, over my 30 years in small business, I have found, unfortunately, that most small business owners don't have the financial habits to be successful in their company. My next guest will show you how to develop these habits. Matt Baker is a money strategist and business coach who's passionate about helping entrepreneurs solve their most challenging problems. As Vice President of Corporate Development International at FreshBooks, Matt is helping millions of self-employed pros grow their business and get paid faster. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Barry.
Why don't small business owners innately have these financial habits?
Well, I think that's a great question. It's always rather than focus on Band-Aids, it's always good to go to the root cause of these things. And I think there's probably some debate there, but I would say it's a combination of a few things. One is a lot of small business owners, depending on the business they're in, they didn't go to school to learn the financial side of the business. We tend to at the company that FreshBooks that I work for, we tend to serve a lot of creative professionals, even lawyers and consultants and trades folks. They're all focused on their craft, whatever that craft may be, and so the financial side tends to be an afterthought. And then secondly, on top of that, there's also time. Once you get started and you're running the business, you're kind of wearing all hats for the business. And I think that's one of the things that inspires me about business owners is that they sort of do everything. It's sort of amazing that one person can run a whole business, if you know what I mean. So, I think it just becomes one of those things where it's hard to figure out the way to prioritize and you don't want to spend all your time on it. But if you don't do it and you neglect it, you can put yourself in a whole lot of trouble and just, add more risk to your business than is necessary. And so as much as we can learn from those that do it well, I think then it helps others learn from some of those best practices.
In fact, I find that a lot of small business owners actually avoid the financial side of their business because either their accountant doesn't help them, right, in figuring out what's really going on, or they just really don't know what the truth is.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, and I think that avoidance comes from, sometimes it's just the awkward parts of it. It's not so much that, that any small business owner that I speak to, at least, it's not so much that there's a lack of caring about, the financial side of the business, but it's more like when you break it down, what are the tasks that they're doing on the financial side? A lot of times it's creating an invoice that can be very sort of monotonous, depending on how you do it, and you got to do line item by line item and be pretty thorough. Or it's chasing down payments. Nobody wants to do that, whether you're a small business owner or anyone else. Once somebody owes you money, to go and try to figure that out, or manage vendors and try to negotiate better rates. And it tends to be, I think, that there's certain aspects in there that are just really a drag as opposed to the whole category. But certainly, like I said from the beginning, and nobody got into this business because they wanted to spend all their time on the financial side.
It's also interesting, though, they didn't want to spend all their time on the financial side, but a lot of people get into small business because they want to make money. So it's kind of like those two things are diametrically opposed. So, Matt, what are your best financial habits that you think that most small business owners have to practice if they want to be successful?
Yeah, okay, so that, again, a great question. I think I just would comment, too, on the point you said around, to get into it to make money, so it seems a little bit opposed. What I would say is some of our data suggests that that is one, but probably not the primary. And so, but obviously, for what it's worth, it varies a lot by, business owner to business owner. But by and large, we see a lot of people getting into small business or self-employment or freelancing, however you may call it, because of the flexibility and the control over the business. And one aspect of that is money, but certainly other aspects of it are time and flexibility and other things. So, anyway, for what it's worth, I think money is important, but maybe not the driving force behind a lot of folks. And then just to hop to the specific question around financial habits, we've done a study, and we came out with this. We studied over 1,500 small business owners and the habits that they do financially, and then correlated that to their actual performance out in the market. And we found that just about 25% are doing this set that I'm going to describe, this set of financial habits, and they are absolutely outperforming all of their peers. And so it happens that those top 25% are doing 7 things that the others aren't consistently and systematically doing the same way. And so, again, it's a correlation, but at the end of the day, if you're doing these 7 things, you're really going to set yourself up for success, and you're going to be in a bucket of folks that are outperforming their peers. So I'll just jump to those 7 then. And I'll try to hit them sort of quickly, and then we can go back for a little bit of detail if that makes sense. But the first one is regularly reviewing finances. And so it's a bit of a process piece, but it's something around daily, weekly, monthly. How often are you actually reviewing so that you're never caught off and you're never surprised? There's a little bit more detail in there, but that's the biggest one. Number one, regularly reviewing finances. Number two is maintaining a budget. Budget's kind of a buzzword that's really tough on people. I sometimes try to not even use the word budget because it's such a loaded word. But when I say maintain a budget, it's really just setting expectations that you can then compare yourself to. It doesn't mean, hey, I can't spend more than this, or it doesn't mean, that you got to have 25 spreadsheets. It's really just, hey, I'm in the month. Like, we just turned a new year. I'm in January. What do I expect, in terms of clients or revenue or something by the end of the month? Or what do I expect, by February? That essentially is a budget. You're just setting yourself some targets, and then you can compare your performance to those targets versus just, hoping for the best, so to speak. Number three is about saving appropriate amount for taxes. Now, this is a big one it's just an administrative piece, but it's essential, because what happens is if you don't have a way to separate the amount that you want to save for taxes, you can often spend that money and not know that it's really not yours. I mean, the best way to think of it mentally is, call it 30% of all the money you earn is not even yours. It's just the government's money. Don't even think it's yours to begin with. Just put it aside and get ready to give it to the government. And, the worst cases that I've seen is if somebody doesn't follow that and then they overspend, then tax time comes and all of a sudden they got to take out a line of credit or some other way to try to make tax work. And then you just, then you start repeating some of those behaviors that just get you in trouble. And then number four is around proactively reducing debt. Having debt is not a problem, and taking on debt is not a problem. But once you do so, you definitely want to proactively reduce it, particularly if it's something like credit card debt. That's very high interest rates. A lot of folks, if you're paying off the minimums on something like that, you're really just paying interest at that point. And so having a process and just taking a look at your accounts and proactively reducing it is certainly number four that these top 25% of business owners are doing. Number five is paying yourself a salary from earnings. I've kind of seen two paths on this one. One is to have sort of more like a business account, and then money's pulled out of it. That is the owner's, sort of like a draw. And the other one is to have a personal account, and everything that's pushed out is business stuff, and then what's left over is sort of what you pay yourself. But this concept that you're turning yourself into someone who earns money from the business is a good sort of mind flip. And we find that only half of the people that are small business owners do this. But it's a way of trying to simulate this idea of a paycheck. And I think one of the hardest things that happens when somebody goes from a traditional job to self-employment or small business ownership is their income becomes very lumpy. We're conditioned as employees to get paid every two weeks, and you might get that spot bonus at the holiday season, or in some other way you might get some additional funds, but you have a baseline that you can sort of stick with. In the small business world, that baseline is often very much in flux with an ebb and flow, sort of like the tide. And, seasonality adds on top of that. So you can have some very low months, and effectively, knowing how that works is all, part of being able to pay yourself and make sure that that you can see out to the horizon a bit. That was number five. Number six is about picking a business structure that makes sense for you. And so that just means simply, there are things like a sole proprietorship, a partnership, or an LLC. You can even be incorporated, which is growing in popularity. And all of these have trade-offs. No one is perfect for any, for any, across the board. But for each business, you just want to pick the one that's best for you. And you probably can't do it yourself. You could try to spend a week on Google reading as much as possible, but you're probably not going to be, an expert in this area. So you want to lean on somebody, but effectively pick the one that's best for you. It's going to set you up for success. It's going to give you the benefits, to have a more sustainable business. And then finally, number seven is to maximize your write-offs and deductions. We find that 2/3 roughly of business owners really make an effort to do this. But the third that doesn't, it's really setting them up as a disadvantage because their competitors or their peers are doing so, and sometimes it feels a bit onerous, or it feels as though you're kind of gaming the system. But at the end of the day, really, the more that you can reduce your taxable income, the less you're going to pay the government, and you shouldn't be paying the government more than you're supposed to. So the rules are there for a reason, and if you have write-offs, you should certainly take them. And by and large, if you put that together, those are seven. What I would say is, for any business owner that I would go and talk to, it's not like they're doing none of those seven. They're probably doing maybe 3 or 4, but there's a gap to get to all 7. And once you think of them in tandem, it's certainly not a long list, because like I said, once you're there, it's really just plugging the holes of 2 or 3 that could really set yourself up for success.
So let's talk about a few of those, Matt. The first one you discussed was regularly review your financials. And there's a couple of keys there, which is regularly review your financials. It really is every month. It doesn't mean every year. Where do people start if they don't really understand what the financial statements are telling them and how they can use it to make their business better?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the ways that you can start is sometimes just looking back. And right now is a great time as you turn of the year. Let's look back at 2019, and then let's just compare some things. If I look back month by month over the year, do I have access to some visibility? How many clients did I have, in every month along the way? And did that go up or down? Did I simply just grow throughout the year, or does it come up and down depending on some other things? And then you might jog your memory a little bit. Oh, yeah, that's what happened that month. So that's a way to start to understand your business and why it's behaving the way it is. Another way of looking back on that year would be looking at the revenue. How did my income change month to month? And then, obviously, another group would be your expenses. And you can take a look at that. So you may see a big bump when you took on a new contractor or a new employee. Or you may say, oh, you know what, I got, out of that particular deal and my expenses went down, and that, was quite helpful. But it's, a way to understand how your business, evolves. And I think, when I think of the companies that I've worked for, which has, often been large businesses, they have whole financial teams that spend, weeks and months, looking through these things. And so, you can't do that when you're self-employed and you're sort of a one person, but you can, have a better understanding of the operations of your business and what are some of those drivers of either, positivity or negativity. And you'll certainly learn. And the more you do it, and then you layer on that number 2 that we talked about, is having some targets, which is sort of the idea of a budget. Then you start to get really capable of this financial oversight of your business, because once you then can layer on some expectations and then compare yourself to those expectations, and oftentimes you may surprise yourself and beat your expectations. But then the best question is to ask why. What happened there? Did I get an extra client that I didn't have to work for? It just kind of came in by word of mouth, or did I close that project sooner than I thought I did, or longer than I thought I did? Was there a certain outflow of cash that happened in that month that makes that month look different from every other month? And those are the kinds of things that ultimately you don't know unless you just review. And you want to do it. Last thing I'll say is, if you have a system or a piece of software, an application that helps you do that, more power to you for sure, because you don't want to necessarily try to become an expert in Excel and all the rest. And so when I just even mentioned at the forefront, hey, let's look back at 2019, if you sort of throw up in your hand, and you're saying, I don't know how I'm going to do that, then that's a signal, hey, there's systems in place that can give you that visibility at a click. As long as you're, kind of running your business through them, it's really hard to pour over just, your bank statements and say, wait a second, none of us are, sort of balancing checkbooks the way we probably did 20 years ago, given all the technology in the finance world today. So certainly having a system that does that for you is going to save a bunch of time as well. And so, and there's a bunch out there, which is great news. Every year that goes by, more and more applications are out there for small business owners, which is pretty exciting.
Well, Matt, I appreciate it. I think these are all great habits to develop. Where can people get in touch with you at FreshBooks?
Okay, we have all this data to share, freshbooks.com. We've continued to do a bunch of reports. This is the financial one. We've done a bunch around mindsets and other behaviors of small business owners. So all of that's at freshbooks.com, and you can reach me at mbakerson on Twitter.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for being on the show. And I want to thank everyone for joining this week's radio show. I got to thank our sponsors, Nextiva, the all-in-one communications platform for your small business. I want to thank LinkedIn, the place to generate leads, drive traffic, and build your brand awareness. For a free $100 credit to launch your campaign, go to www.linkedin.com/SBR. I also want to thank eFile4Biz, the easiest way to process, print, and mail and file your 1099s and W-2s for your business. Go to www.efile4biz.com. I also want to thank Visita, all you need to run your business in one software. Try for free at www.visita.com and use Barry10 for an exclusive discount. And I want to thank Blue Summit Supplies. Get your W-2s, 1099s, tax forms, and all your office supplies required for your business at www.bluesummitSupplies/SBR. Use code SBR10 at checkout to save 10% off your order. Thanks to our incredible staff, especially our booking producer, Sarah Schafferin, our in-studio producer, Lady B, our marketing manager, Courtney Gilchrist. If you're serious about being more successful in 2020, you got to give me a call. I've set up a private line just for you, 773-837-8250, or email me at barry@moltz.com. Remember, love everyone, trust a few, and paddle your own canoe. Have a profitable and passionate week.
You can find Barry Moltz on the web at barrymoltz.com, or more episodes of Small Business Radio at smallbizradioshow.com.